welcome back to another episode of the Karter Cast. I'm your host, Karter Baughan. With me, as always, Connor Sparrow, and it's just us again, Connor. We're doing the NFC ourselves. They're putting in too much PTO. We're recording right now. It's almost 3 o'clock on Saturday Eastern Time, August 26th. This won't be out for probably another week or so, so you're probably listening to this right before the season started. It's Labor Day. Football's right on the horizon. Chiefs lines is right there in front of you. But we're what, 14 days away or 10 days away-ish? I can't do math, Connor. Help.
It's next Thursday, so you got Saturday, and we got Sunday, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday. Yeah, 10 days away.
10 days away. 10 days away from football. It's our last preview. We'll close here with Super Bowl picks, but we're going to start with the NFC East and then the NFC West. Let's start off in the East. We always start from the bottom to top, so let's start off with the Washington Commanders. Your boy, Sam Howell's at quarterback. Ron Rivera still somehow there. No more Taylor Heineke there. They're the weirdest team in the NFL because they're going to be a team all season you don't want to bet against. They're a team that's going to just be in games that they shouldn't. They're going to beat the Eagles at least once. They're going to beat teams they shouldn't, and then they're going to lose the teams they shouldn't. Like week 1 against the Cardinals, like watch out. What if they just somehow lay a dud?
I don't know. I'm kind of high on the Commanders week 1 against the Cardinals. Dan Snyder finally sold the team. That dark cloud is out from under them. It's going to be hype. New
Sam
ownership
Howell doesn't
group.
have a lot of game film either.
No game film. The Cardinals is the best team to make your first start of the season with, as a young quarterback like Sam Howell. So I think I'm going to take the Commanders week 1 probably. I think they're -7 right now, so that's a little scary, but I think the situation is going to be there for Sam Howell. Talk about the division, Karter. 18 years without a repeat division champion. Every year people are like, it's going to be a new champion. You never know. It's the most unpredictable division. I kind of agree, but when you look at the Commanders, as a Carolina guy, I want to sit here and say, Sam Howell's going to be great this year. Take the over. Like, they're going to win the division, blah, blah, blah. I think he's a very talented quarterback. He can throw the ball. He can make some tight throws. He has good reads. He also takes a lot of sacks. He also takes a lot of risks. He's turnover prone. And for a mediocre offensive line that didn't really do a good job of protecting, the quarterbacks the last couple of years, I'm a little worried for Sam Howell. I think there's going to be some mistakes. There's going to be a learning curve. But what they can't do, if they want Sam Howell to be the quarterback of the future, they can't bench him week 4 for Jacoby Brissett. They can't do it. They got to let him work through those pains. They're not going to win the division this year, and they have to go into the season knowing that. I know that's not what you want to hear as a football team, but you've got to let him make his mistakes because Sam Howell does have the potential. He was supposed to be a first-round pick after his freshman year at Carolina. Slid all the way to the 5th round. He lost a lot of weapons his junior year at Carolina, so he slid down the board, didn't have guys to throw it to. I think he's going to be a solid quarterback in this league, Karter, but they got to have patience with him because he is turnover prone and there's going to be some mistakes this year, but they got to roll with the punches.
He also has decent weapons. Real quick, their win total 6.5. I forgot to mention that. I'm going to stay away from the win total in almost both of these divisions. I don't like a lot betting-wise in these divisions, but I do want to talk about them. If I were to pick, I would probably say just slightly under. 6-11 feels right for this team, but outside of that, talking about Sam Howell, he actually has good weapons, though. Like Terry McLaurin, Jahan Dodson's a dog. Logan Thomas is a solid tight end. He's got Brian Robinson at running back. Like, he's got weapons. It's just...
He does.
It's just the offensive line obviously isn't ideal. It's just... And he does turn over the ball a ton. He takes a ton of risks, like you said.
Washington was bottom 6 last year in pressure allowed to their quarterback, so they got to give Howell time to throw this year. De'Ami Brown is their 4th receiver this year. So if Terry McLaurin misses any time due to this turf toe, he's questionable for week 1 right now. If McLaurin misses time, De'Ami Brown will probably get the start. And I am betting him first touchdown and anytime touchdown because Sam Howell, that was his favorite target at Carolina, was De'Ami Brown. Every single year they played together, that was his favorite target. So that's a very spicy anytime touchdown play. Guaranteed it'll be like plus 800 or something ridiculous like that. Eric Bieniemy is in, Karter. Offensive coordinator from the Chiefs. He's got no Mahomes, no Andy Reid to lean back on now. I'll be curious to see what he does without a Mahomes, without an Andy Reid to kind of guide him a little bit because he hasn't really called his own offense in a very long time. I think, last 12 years or something like that. A lot of questions in the running back room too, Karter. You mentioned Brian Robinson, which he's good. The story's great, but I saw a quote from The Athletic that said, Eric Bieniemy influenced the selection of running back Chris Rodriguez in the 6th round. He also said Antonio Gibson will have a role next season, which we hear every season. Rivera said he'd like more touches for the 4th-year running back Gibson, as is intrigued by how the versatile Antonio Gibson fits into Bieniemy's offense. So I don't know how much Brian Robinson's going to be the bell cow back. I actually bet his under rushing yards already. I've already bet like 4 player props, and that was one of them. That was the first one I took. So I'm on Brian Robinson's under rushing yards just because I think it's going to be a backfield by committee. But I'm also taking the Commanders under 6.5. I think they win 5-6 games, sure. I think they'll be competitive in a lot of games. They might have a good record against the spread, but as far as actual wins go, even with Sam Howell, my guy, I'm going under 6.5 here.
Yeah, I'm picking it. I won't bet it, but also just as like a little fantasy football manifesto, we're doing our a lot of people have already done their drafts, or they're packing it in these last 2 weeks right before football starts. We're doing our draft tomorrow as we're taping. The number one rule I have written down on my notes before we go into this draft is you cannot and will not take Antonio Gibson under any circumstances. I would rather have Teddy Bridgewater on my team. I am not taking Antonio Gibson. No ifs, ands, or buts.
We hear it every year with Gibson. It's like, oh, he's going to have a role this year. He's going to be the guy this year. He's going to have 15 carries a game. And it never comes to fruition. He'll have like 1 or 2 games on the waiver wire where he goes off and somebody, poops their pants and is like, oh, I got to pick him up on my team. And then he gets 8 points whenever they start him. So Stay away. Stay away there. I'm staying away from the win total. If I had to pick an under, like I said, I'll do under 6.5, but it's just too unpredictable. It's too many question marks on this team.
Yeah. All right. That's enough on that. That was nice. That was real nice. Let's move on. Let's talk about the next team. They are currently projected to finish third in the NFC East. They're plus 700 to win this division. It's the New York Giants. They're at win total 7.5 wins. Last season, they were, everyone's darling. Everyone loved them. They made the playoffs. They got the playoff win against the Minnesota Vikings. Daniel Jones, revival year. It's just hard to believe in this team.
I agree, Carter. And it's funny you brought up the playoff loss against the Vikings. Funny enough, this team kind of reminded me of the Vikings last year. I don't know if the word luck is the right way to put it, but they had a lot of things break their way last year. They were 13-4 against the spread, so they made bettors a lot of money last year. They were 8-4-1 in one-score games, and they struggled against the better opponents, though. That was the storyline, is they were 2-7 versus playoff teams last year during the regular season. They had 7 estimated wins. They ended up with 10. So there was just a lot of things to break the Giants' way last year. I mean, nobody thought Daniel Jones would be good. Dayball comes in. It was great coaching. It was also a lot of luck. The only other quarterback besides Daniel Jones to play 15 games and throw less than 15 touchdowns was Jacoby Brissett, who's now a backup. Daniel Jones was the only other one. He, more than doubled his rushing production from last year from the year before. I think we see a little Daniel Jones regression, Carter. He got paid. And I'm not just saying this because he's a Duke guy. I know I'm a Carolina fan. He got paid. Last season was the outlier for him as opposed to his first 3 years in the league. Last season was the outlier. I think there's going to be some regression this year. I really do. I know Saquon's back, and they have some weapons. They got Darren Waller at tight end. I don't see it. I don't see it with the Giants this year.
He's been fairly durable, but my concern is him staying healthy. I think you were going to see him run the ball a lot this year. Like, obviously, we saw it last year. He ran a ton. I think we're going to see him run the ball a crap ton this year. Like you said, I actually agree with that, with the contract part of it, because that's what happens. We see it all the time, especially in the NBA. Every time in the NBA, it's a guy going into his contract year. Why did his production all of a sudden go up? Because, I don't know, he's got $100 million on the line. It's pretty easy. Exactly. Pretty simple math there. And then there's just weird stuff coming out of camp with like Saquon Barkley and stuff. I really like Jalen Hyatt at receiver. As a late pick in your fantasy league. They had the other thing, the argument for the Giants is they had the worst receiving group in the NFL last year, and Daniel Jones still flourished with them.
And speaking of the receiver group, they had the 3rd most injured wide receiver room last year, 3rd most in the league. It seems like Sterling Shepard or somebody was always hurt. So
Sterling Shepard is just a constant injury. Is he playing this year?
Yeah, he's back.
I thought he was one of those guys who's just like, I'm retiring like Corey Davis.
Yeah, let me pose a question to you real quick, Carter, about the Giants. If you're Giants management, if you're ownership, how do you feel about paying Daniel Jones? Because I almost feel like they got guilt-tripped into doing it. Now, I know they had a great year last year, and they enjoyed the success. They got a playoff win. But in your heart of hearts, do you think Daniel Jones is going to lead you to a Super Bowl? Or do you think, really subtly, they'll never admit this, they kind of wanted Daniel Jones to suck last year so they could do the full reboot, the full reset, and not have to pay him all that money?
I don't think so. I think you pay. Okay. I don't think that they're upset about paying him because he was incredible last year, and I feel like if you put better weapons around him and healthy wide receivers, I think everything's fine. I think they're actually really thrilled about it, but I understand your question because it's almost like the Kirk Cousins part of this, where it's like yeah, you're not going to win with Kirk Cousins. You know you're not going to win a Super Bowl with
Right.
him, but you kind of have to pay him. You're kind of stuck in that little spot.
Because he's had success. He's had the
But
numbers.
I honestly don't feel that way about Daniel Jones. I think you could win a Super Bowl with Daniel Jones with teams around him. I think his mobility takes him to that next level. Yes,
Okay.
you're like, I know when you close your eyes and you're like, Daniel Jones throwing the game-winning pass in a Super Bowl, that doesn't add up. But I think that's more of a Giants thing than a Daniel Jones thing, if that's crazy enough.
No, I think that makes sense. I think there's a great chance the Giants will actually be a better overall team this year and not hit their win total. Because last year, I feel like a few of those wins were pretty fluky, and there was a lot of toss-up games they won. I think they will improve as a team, and I think they'll have less wins than last year. I don't think they get to 10 wins. I actually think they're going to go under 7.5. Once again, I know it's boring. I'm not going to take it because I don't feel confident about it. But if you had to make me choose, I would say Giants under 7.5.
I would stay away. I think they could go 7, 10, 8, and 9, and there's just not enough. I don't feel strong enough either way. The division's tough. The schedule's hard. The schedule is harder this year. I think that's another point to this.
There's actually a little tidbit about the schedule. The current schedule of defenses they're projected to face, it's the best. It's the best in the NFL. They're projected to face the hardest defenses in the NFL based on schedule right now. Now it's preseason. It'll change. The best defense projections will not be the same in Week 10. But as of right now, they're projected to face the hardest defensive schedule in the league.
But if you do like the Giants and you're bullish on the Giants, I do like them 7-1 plus 700 to win their division. I think that's a fun sprinkle. I think that's a great value play. Am I going to do it? Maybe. Probably not.
Probably not. Yeah, probably not. It's a pretty big stay away division for me as far as actually betting numbers goes.
Yep, exactly. All right, let's move on. Dallas Cowboys, regular season win totals 9.5. The big news came out last night. Trey Lance is now a Dallas Cowboy. Traded for him for a fourth round pick. And fumble. We got football on the other TV.
The midshipman.
Yeah, I know. But back to the Cowboys real quick. Over-unders 9.5. The over's juiced like crazy. That's just Cowboy fans, I think. I don't think that's sharp gamblers or anything. I just think there's a lot of Cowboys fans betting that over. Oh, you think it's sharp bettors?
I think there's a decent amount of people in the Cowboys. I've seen a lot of people in the Cowboys. Not just Cowboys fans.
Are you on the Cowboys?
I'm bullish on the Cowboys this year, Carter. I can't believe I'm doing this. But
is it? Well, okay. Well, kind of ironic. This is your last day at ESPN. So did ESPN indoctrinate you into believing the Cowboys are going to win the Super Bowl all of a sudden?
When you're around Cowboys content for 8 hours a day, 5 days a week, it's a little hard not to fall into the trap a little bit. When I work in First Take and Get Up, I'm rolling Cowboys bumps every 10 minutes. So, I don't know. A lot of it's Stephen A. trash in the Cowboys, though. So it goes both ways.
But you still do Cowboys content. But anyway, we might need to cut that part out. We'll find out. We'll let our production guy figure that one out.
Yeah, we'll get HR on it. As far as the Cowboys go for the season preview, they've had back-to-back 12-win seasons. Like I said before, this division has gone 18 years without a repeat champion. So if you're telling me to pick a division winner, give me the Dallas Cowboys. Give me the Dallas Cowboys to win the NFC East. I think they're plus 175 right now on some books. It's not an insane value. It's not going to knock your socks off for like the Giants at plus 900, whatever you said. I think this is the best play. They were 10-5 last year, 10-5 in the last 2 seasons in one-score games. I don't know if that's sustainable, but they've had a plus 24 turnover margin in the last 2 years. That's 9 better than the team that's behind them in second place. Mike McCarthy's taking over play calling duties this year. I don't know how that's going to roll, but Dak Prescott said he seems the most comfortable he's been in a long time since he's been with him calling those plays. I don't know if I trust that. It's Mike McCarthy. But let me pose this question to you, Carter. If the Cowboys flop this year, who gets the majority of the blame? Is it McCarthy or is it Dak? And I think the Trey Lance trade may have answered that question for us. What do you think?
I mean, it's going to fall. So repeat the question just so I make sure I understand it.
If the Cowboys flop this year, if they underachieve, if they miss the playoffs or get bounced in the first round in embarrassing fashion, who gets the majority of the blame? Is it Mike McCarthy? Do they instantly fire him? Or is it Dak who gets most of the blame? And with the Trey Lance trade, I'm kind of leaning towards Dak getting the blame.
I think Dak will get the blame first, but I think the overall blame will end up on McCarthy because I think if Trey Lance comes in and plays well, he's going to be QB3, borderline QB2 in Dallas as well. But fresh start, whatever. If Dak is really bad to start out, then yeah, he's going to get the blame. But overall, if this season's a flop, it's going to fall on McCarthy.
I think so too. I think that's fair.
So it's kind of, but it's a two. I mean, if they are awesome, then it's going to fall on both of them, and they're both going to look great. So it's kind of a two-way street there with the Brady Belichick stuff. What's up?
I got some Dak stats I want to throw at you because this is why I'm bullish on Dak this year. 3 out of his last 4 seasons, he's had double-digit interceptions. He had 15 last year. That's a career high. And I know what you're thinking. You're like, oh, my God, go hammer the over 12.5 interceptions right now. He's interception prone, all this. He only had 18 turnover-worthy throws last year. 15 of those were interceptions. 15 of 18. Let me give you some context here. Jared Goff, I mentioned on the last preview we did, he had 24 turnover-worthy throws. 7 of them were picks. Josh Allen had 29 worthy turnover throws. 14 were picks. Geno Smith, 29, 11 picks. So Dak had 15 of 18 turnover-worthy throws. They actually grade those out and deem them turnover-worthy throws. It's not just me watching games. I don't watch that many games to know every throw. But that was the stat. And so Dak has to bounce back this year and throw less interceptions. There's no way he will go 15 for 18 on interceptions next year. I think Dak's going to have a great year, Carter. I'm going to go bet Dak under 12.5 picks, and I'm going to go bet the Cowboys to win the division. And their win total is 9.5. It's juiced like crazy on FanDuel. I might just take the 10.5 at plus money. I think this Cowboys team is going to be really good this year. And that might bite me in the ass. I think they're going to be good.
You know what I like most about the Cowboys this year?
What's that?
Tony Pollard's the lead back. No more of this Zeke bull crap. Tony Pollard was always if you ask any Cowboys fan, they would have told you, Tony Pollard's by far the better running back, but Zeke opens it up more for Tony Pollard. Yes, that may be true, but guess what? Tony Pollard is now the starting back. I think he's going to be awesome.
Yeah.
Brandon Cooks in at receivers, okay. Another Brandon Cooks team, great. Deuce Vaughn's actually a sneaky pickup for them.
I think he'll get some run. I'm telling you, I'm glad you mentioned Tony Pollard in the running back room. Zeke's gone. He was 25th in efficiency out of 31 running backs last year. He averaged less than 1 yard before contact. Zeke averaged less than 1 yard before contact. Tony Pollard, over 2 more yards per touch than Zeke last year. He was in a complimentary role. We saw more from him at the end of the year. So I'm curious how he'll handle a full workload. But I think Tony Pollard can slide into that, feature back role, and Deuce Vaughn can slide into that early year Tony Pollard role of, hey, get on third downs. Here's 5, 6, 7 touches a game. Get us 10 yards on a couple of those touches, like the explosive guy out of the backfield. And with Brandon Cooks, I think he's a solid number 2 receiver, Carter. I think he gets underrated a little bit just because of how many teams he's been on. But if you look at the numbers, he's had production the last few years with a different quarterback every year, learning a new system every year. That's a little underrated. CeeDee Lamb's in a contract year. You mentioned Daniel Jones in a contract year. CeeDee Lamb's in a contract year this year. He's trying to get paid. He's trying to get an extension at least. They lost Dalton Schultz, but ultimately I think the weapons are pretty good. Michael Gallup's still there as a wide receiver 3 if he can be healthy. I'm bullish on the Cowboys. Bullish on the Cowboys, Carter.
The last thing I'll say on the Cowboys real quick is I'm going to stay away. Like I said, I probably won't take a single thing in this division. I won't bet a single thing. I try and stay away from NFC East anything as far as possible because I just get screwed. Whatever side you take, you're always on the wrong side, It feels like, with this division. I don't know. I'm staying away. I don't like the NFC East. I don't like any of their fans. I don't like the football. I hate, it's the worst Sunday night football game. I hate when it's Cowboys Giants on Sunday night. It's not entertaining. It's never exciting.
It's always exciting. 21-20.
Yeah, and it's close, but it's not exciting. And cool. Odell Beckham had that one catch, a decade ago. Great. That's fun, but guess what? I don't like it. I do like the Cowboys, though. I mean, between the Cowboys and Eagles, I would probably bet the Cowboys with you because I kind of worry about the Eagles Super Bowl hangover. We've always seen it, that Super Bowl runner-up. The only team that really didn't have to deal with it was either the old Pats teams or the Bengals of last year. The Bengals were still great last season, but we saw what happened with the Panthers, what happened with the Falcons when they lost the Super Bowl. They haven't recovered since.
I agree. I think that's fair. We can get into the Eagles now. Last thing on the Cowboys. I am going to put my money on them, Carter. You mentioned betting them over the Eagles. I will be betting the Cowboys this year. It's my only bet in the division. Last thing I'll say on them, I like their defense too. They forced 67 turnovers the last 2 years. It's 22 more than league average. They were 2 off the record last year. So they have a solid defense coming back. Micah Parsons, I think he'll take a big step up. He took a little step back last year. I think it's because teams, had a little bit of film on him. They knew what he was going to do. I think he'll take another step forward this year. I like the Cowboys. Give me them to win the division and give me them over 9.5, 10.5 wins, either one. And I'm undecided on taking Dak under interceptions, but I think it's a good play if you believe in his bounce back year like I do.
All right. All right. Do you believe he's going to get double-digit interceptions? He was like, there's no way I'm getting 10 interceptions this year.
I saw that. He might get 10. I don't think he'll get 13. The number's 12.5, so I can see 9, 10, 11.
You never know. Anyhow, let's move on. Let's talk about the last team in this division, the Super Bowl runner-up, last year's NFC East title. They were just insane last year. They were a machine. It's the Philadelphia Eagles, over under 11.5 wins. Their overs plus 104, their unders minus 128. So quite a bit of action there on the under. I'll start off real quick.
Mm-hmm.
I kind of touched on it right before. I am worried about the Super Bowl hangover. I mean, I'm obviously not going to sit here and be like, oh, Jalen Hurts isn't good. And I'm not going to sit here and say I don't believe in Jalen Hurts, but I do worry about his health. I mean, any rushing quarterback, I'm going to worry about you staying healthy.
Jalen Hurts, the thing is, the health is one thing. Now, that's fair. That's such an unknown. When you're taking a lot of hits like that, there is always potential for injury. There's a higher risk of injury for sure. Jalen Hurts puts in the work, though. So that's why I'm like, yes, there might be a Super Bowl hangover, but he really, we talked about Baker having that fake dog. I think Jalen Hurts has that dog. I think he has that real dog in him. Like, he puts in the work. He doesn't make excuses. He's not in the media saying all these quotes that, TV stations go crazy with. You don't see his name under every crazy quote, about another team they're playing or something like that. He keeps his head on straight, and he puts in the work. And if you look at his numbers last year, based on success rate, he was the most efficient runner in the league by far. Not even close. Most efficient runner since, honestly, the last 10 years, I think. It was something crazy I saw. I think they're going to be good this year, Carter, but I don't know if they're a runaway pick to win the division. I think they're going to have some slip-ups. The running back room, do you trust DeAndre Swift to stay healthy? We're talking about Jalen Hurts' health. Do you trust Swift to stay healthy? They have Rashad Penny. Talking about fantasy football, decent late-round flyer for Rashad Penny. He's averaged 6.2 yards per carry his last 180 carries.
Hey, also, we draft tomorrow. This isn't going to be out for another week. This isn't out till Labor Day, so we can spoil all our fantasy stuff on here as well.
Oh, yeah, exactly. So Rashad Penny, I think, is a great late-round flyer. Like I said, 6.5 yards per carry over the last 180 or 6.2, whatever it was, with worse O-lines in Seattle. So I think he'll get some run, especially if DeAndre Swift is banged up. They have great pass catchers. A.J. Brown, Devonta Smith, Dallas Goedert, all still there. An elite O-line. They have an elite offensive line. I don't think we'll see much drop-off as far as production goes, but schedule's tough, man. I don't know. If I had to bet, I would take the over 11.5, but I'm not putting my money on this at all because I can see them winning 11 or 10 and still making the playoffs and being a dangerous team.
Yeah, I would probably do, if I had to do anything, I would probably take them to win the division, honestly. I'm picking them. I think the Eagles are going to do it again. I think they are going to have a repeat champion, obviously, every year. I would, if I'm going to bet anything, I would bet the Giants to win it. Just, value play, fun. You could probably get even better odds at other places other than FanDuel. But I think the Eagles just do it. Their defense is solid. They return a lot of production, obviously. Jalen Hurts is great. I just don't see why they can't do it again.
I agree. That defense is really tough. They, got all those Georgia Bulldogs.
And it never felt lucky with the Eagles either. That's the other thing, like we talked about with the Giants and Vikings. Last season, a lot of those wins felt lucky. It didn't feel lucky with the Eagles. You're just like, gosh, they are just dominating.
I completely agree with that. They came out last year and would just punch teams in the mouth. I mean, they would go up like 14-21-0. The offense would put in all that work. They'd throw the ball down the field the first few drives, and then all of a sudden they're up double-digit points, and the defense can just blitz, balls to the wall because they're up so many points. They can give up a few chunk plays. The risk was worth the reward, and then all of a sudden the running backs bleed the clock. You saw Miles Sanders. He had, 1,000 yards last year? I guarantee a lot of that was in the second half with the lead, just because they would just bleed the clock after they come out and score 2 touchdowns. Defense had allowed the second fewest yards per game last year, 70 sacks. That's unheard of. That's 15 more than the team that was behind them in second place. They were only 2 sacks short of the record by the Bears in the 80s. So brought back a lot of the guys on the defensive line. 4 players generated 40 or more quarterback pressures. It's going to be hard for me to bet against them, but I am going to pick the Cowboys to win the division just because 18 years without a repeat champion, it has to give eventually, but we've said that in years past. And it hasn't. There's always been somebody new. So I'm going to ride that wave. I'm going to ride the Dak bounce back wave. Give me Cowboys to win the division. And with the Eagles, stay away.
Yeah, I don't hate that. Anything else with the NFC East, or is that it?
That's about it. This division, it's probably the one I'm going to put the least amount of money on. This one and the next one we're going to talk about. It's funny we're doing them both in the same episode. It's just so unpredictable.
All right. Yeah, I don't have anything else. I have the Eagles winning it, but Giants value play. Don't hate it. I just stay away. It's the biggest stay away division for me in NFL football. All right, let's move on. Let's move on to the NFC West. Real quick, the division odds. The Niners minus 165 is the heavy favorite. Seahawks plus 200. Rams 10-1. And please call the gambling hotline if you bet this. Cardinals plus 2,700. Don't bet it. Please call 1-800-GAMBLER before you even think about betting it. Let's start off with the Cardinals. Holy crap, they're bad. Holy crap, they're bad. Should we just pull up the depth chart? Like
you're welcome to pull it up. I don't know how many names we're going to recognize.
Like, I mean, it's that bad. If you're listening right now, do a favor. While you're listening on your phone or whatever, make sure you're not driving. Go on ESPN and type in Cardinals depth chart. I mean, it's bad. It's bad. There's a reason. Their win total's 4.5, and there's a lot of action on the under at minus 120. I'll read some of these names right now. Like the starting line, it's going to be Colt McCoy, James Conner, Marquise Hollywood Brown, Rondale Moore, Greg Dortch, Zach Ertz.
And didn't Marquise Brown got arrested for speeding, right? Wasn't he going like 126 and a 65? I assume he'll play, but he's got off-the-field problems.
Then we have Michael Wilson or Zach Pascal as a backup. I mean, they're fast receivers.
It's brutal.
It's brutal. They're fast, I guess you can say. Josh Dobbs comes in. He might start.
Will Kyler be back for week 1?
Kyler's not back till like mid-season.
Is it mid-season?
Yeah.
Okay. I didn't know how soon it was.
If you're listening right now, you can tell how much prep we did on the Arizona Cardinals.
If you rank the teams that I did the most prep on, the Cardinals is by far and away the least. I literally wrote down. I'll be honest with the viewers here, the listeners. Hollywood Brown arrested. Kyler coming off ACL injury. I wrote down James Conner. Does he excite you at all? Absolutely not. There's no running back depth there. I wrote down Greg Dortch. Anytime touchdown plays are going to be spicy this year. And then
Greg Dortch. Rondale Moore's a fun receiver.
Yeah, they have some fun, like fast guys, but it's more like guys that would thrive in the slot on a good team, not as a number one option. Last thing I wrote, this is going to spark, maybe roll the TikTok camera here. I think you can argue that Kyler Murray is the best quarterback in the NFC West. I think just based on talent, what he's done. I know there's been, jokes about him in his contract and his video game playing and, he has mandatory film study. I think from a talent perspective, people are forgetting how good he was a couple of years ago. Who's he going up against? Geno? I don't think he'll do the same thing as last year. Brock Purdy, he gets carried by his skill guys. And then Matthew Stafford, who's old and washed up. I think Kyler Murray is the best quarterback in this division. Do I think it translates to any more than 4.5 wins? No. I think I'd take the under. I'm not actually going to take it just because it's such a low number. But I looked at their schedule. I don't see them getting more than 3 or 4 wins.
I don't hate it. He might be the most talented, but it's hard to argue against Matthew Stafford.
I just think Matthew Stafford this year, like for this coming year, is going to be, he's older now. He's injury prone. He got injured last year. I don't see it. I mean, he's got Cooper Kupp. Kyler does not have Cooper Kupp, so it makes him look a little better also.
I would probably still go with Matthew Stafford. Brock Purdy, yeah, he's good. Maybe Sam Darnold. What are we doing here? We're not talking about the Red Rocket. No. Maybe. The quarterbacks in this division are pretty bad. How weird is it we think 2 years ago, or like last season's preview, no, the year before that, so 2 years preview, we're sitting there like Russell Wilson, Kyler Murray, Matthew Stafford, and Jimmy Garoppolo. Like Jimmy Garoppolo is the worst one in this division. If Jimmy Garoppolo is still there, there's an argument he's one of the better ones in this division. Like
I would agree. I'd agree with that.
Crazy how this has flipped so much, but yeah, I mean, if Kyler's healthy, he might be the most talented quarterback in this division. I don't think that's crazy.
I don't either. I'm not willing to, put all my eggs in that basket for the Cardinals, but it's a hot take. It's a clip, clip it off. I think it's a fair take.
I guess. But I don't have anything on the Cardinals. Literally, I don't want to talk about them. I'll be honest. If you could bet them to have the worst record in the league, I think there's better value on teams like maybe the Raiders or the Buccaneers.
That's what I was going to say. Is I wouldn't take any bets for like the Cardinals to be the last winless team, but not have the worst record because I think Kyler's going to come off that injury and he's going to come back and play and actually try.
And also, they're gonna it's gonna be like the Texans last year, how they're gonna screw themselves out of the first pick. They're gonna play like the last game of the season, and all of a sudden they lose it on the and they are just, why are you trying to win? You need to play your practice squad guys. There's no reason to win this game.
It's because Kyler doesn't want to compete with Caleb Williams for a job next year. So
Kyler Murray's not going to be on the Arizona Cardinals next year. You can call him Josh Rosen.
Okay, fair enough.
All right, let's move on. Anything else on the Cardinals? We can do
No,
3 hours on the Cardinals if you want.
No, that's it. That's all I've got.
You'll have to get some other
hosts on this show for that.
All right, let's talk about the Rams. Over under 6.5 wins. Their over is plus odds at plus 110. Unders minus 134. Lose a ton on their defense. Matt Stafford, obviously, like we mentioned, he's not healthy. This is a stay away because I could see them being good out of nowhere. Like, let's say if Matt Stafford's randomly healthy, why aren't they good?
I'll tell you why. Look at their depth chart. Let's play the depth chart game again. I can't name more than a few players on that defense. I'm a casual. Call me a casual. That's fine. If you look at the Rams defense from a few years ago, it is night and day to what it is. They're 2 years removed from winning a Super Bowl, Carter. They sold their future draft capital for immediate help, but you know what? It was worth it. They got a Super Bowl, but now they're paying the price. The only relevant really players they have: Stafford, Cooper Kupp, Aaron Donald, and I guess Tyler Higbee. Decent O-line. I think Sean McVay is just waiting to be done with coaching. He wants to be on Fox Sports or somewhere so bad. He wants to do TV. This might be his last year coaching the Rams if it goes poorly. This might be Stafford's last year in the league. He won a Super Bowl a couple years ago. If it goes poorly again, if he gets injured again, he might decide to hang it up. Aaron Donald already flirted with retirement, but then was convinced to come back. I already bet the under. I already bet the under 6.5 here. I just don't think there's enough talent on this team. I think they're a little bit top heavy. They have a few big names, but if you look at the meat and potatoes of this team, there's not a lot of talent there. There's not a lot to get excited about. I already bet the under 6.5.
Like I said, I'm going to stay away from it. I know I keep saying that about every team. Like, oh, pick one, buddy. Pick one. I'll pick one. Just be patient. I'll pick a team. The Rams, though, but Sean McVay's such a good coach. What if Matt Stafford's like, all right, let's do it one last time. Let's go all in. I also, sneaky, watch out deep. If you're like, and it's 17th round in your fantasy league, you're like, oh, well, I already got my kicker in defense. Let's throw out a flyer. Puka Nacua, watch out. Puka Nacua is going to be a dog for the Rams, and he's going to be a fantasy guy. You heard it here first. Watch out, Puka Nacua in fantasy. But, Connor, don't draft him, please.
Never. I would never. I'm not taking notes right now. What about a little Cam Akers resurgence, Carter? You going to take a little Cam Akers this year?
Let's keep talking fantasy real quick.
Take a little Cam Akers?
Let's talk fantasy. Cam Akers won. We'll get into him in a second. I want to talk about Cooper Kupp, though. At what position, if you're in the draft right now, I mean, I'm getting a little strategy for our own league, but if you're in the draft and you have the 5th pick and Cooper Kupp is staring you right in the face, what do you do?
I don't take him just because I don't trust Matthew Stafford to stay healthy. I don't trust
the Rams. At what point do you take Cooper Kupp then?
Well, I don't trust the Rams to not throw in the towel if they're 2-8. I think if I'm picking in the second round and Cooper Kupp's falling to me, I will take him.
Second round.
But there is probably at least 7 or 8 guys I'm going to take before him.
So if you're at the 8th, 9th pick, you're not looking at Cooper Kupp?
I don't think I can, Carter, because I just can't trust that his quarterback can play all the games.
I don't think you've looked at how bad the end of the first round is.
So who are some guys you would take him over then?
So, all right, let's break it down here. Would you take Bijan Robinson over Cooper Kupp in fantasy this year?
Absolutely not. Absolutely not.
Okay, would you take Josh Jacobs?
No, but he's not going that high. No way.
Would you take Travis Kelce over him?
Yeah, I think I would.
Would you take Austin Eckler, Christian McCaffrey, Justin Jefferson, Jamar Chase? All of those, I'm assuming, yes.
Yeah. So, okay, now that we've broken it down, I would say if I had the 8th or 9th pick, I would seriously consider Cooper Kupp, depending on who's available.
But
I would take him over Bijan.
Top 7, you're not even looking.
I don't think so. I can't trust it. I can't trust his quarterback plays all 17 games. I can't even trust he plays all 17 games, not even just from an injury standpoint, but from a fact of like, if there's 3 games left in the year and they're 8 games below 500, what's the point in him playing? So, and that's playoff time. That's fantasy playoff time. I don't want that.
All right.
I just don't think that offense is going to be any good, honestly. I don't think they're going to be very good. He'll get all the targets, but he'll also be the focal point of every defense.
All the targets. That's the thing. He just gets all the targets. And you mention the focal point of the, watch out for the other guys, and that's why I mentioned Puka Nacua. Puka Nacua. But anyhow, I don't really have anything on the Rams. I like them week 1 against the Seahawks, though. I like them plus 5.5 against the Seahawks week 1. I know it's a
we are aligned. We're aligned, Carter. My first note for the Seahawks is week 1 against the Rams, potential loss. Rams will be healthy and rested for now.
Yep, and McVay has all this time to plan. And then
Yep.
come like week 3, week 4, then you can go against the Rams. But
Right.
week 1 at home against Seattle, you're giving me 5.5 points. I kind of like that.
I like that too.
I don't know if Geno's going to be able to handle Aaron Donald. All right, let's move on. Let's talk about Geno Smith. Geno Smith and the Seattle Seahawks. Their win total is 8.5. The over is at -142. Unders +116. Geno Smith, man. Geno Smith got his big contract. Geno Smith is a franchise quarterback, essentially, for an NFL franchise. Not in a million years we would have said that going into last year.
10 years after he should have been. He is now a franchise quarterback for
He's all of a sudden a franchise quarterback, and everyone's like, yeah, you can trust him in the pocket. You can trust him to make the right throws. I'm not buying it. I'm not buying it with the Seahawks. This is going to be crazy. People are going to be like, oh, I'm huge on Seattle. Their run game with Kenneth Walker and the new guy from UCLA that I can't pronounce his name. They're awesome.
Charbonnet, whatever.
Chardonnay. I don't know.
Chardonnay, little wine, yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. I'm actually going under on the Seahawks. And since it's plus odds on FanDuel, I'm going to shop around. Hopefully I can get 9.5. If I can get 9.5, I'm going under on Seattle. I think this is the Geno regression. You talked about it with Daniel Jones, where he already got his contract. Now we're going to see the regression. I think we're going to see it even bigger with Geno Smith, because Geno Smith is way further along in his career. And we've had a large sample size of Geno Smith not being a great quarterback.
Right.
And we only saw it last season. And last season, when push came to shove, a lot of times he failed under pressure. So I'm going to go under Seattle win total. They're like I said, that's why I like the Rams week 1 too.
Yeah, I think you hit the nail on the head here, Carter. You mentioned Daniel Jones, and I talked about how last year was the outlier for him, but he was at least, mid-20s in a lot of stats for quarterbacks his first 3 years. Geno was bad enough to where he was unplayable. You could not start him in an NFL football game, and we've seen more of it. There's more to sample size. I think he regresses too this year. Of quarterbacks last year with at least 300 pass attempts, Geno had the most dropped interceptions by opposing defenses. That's graded by PFF. The most dropped interceptions. Is it sustainable what he did last year? I don't think so. He led the league in completion percentage, sure. He also led the league in turnover-worthy plays, like I just said with the dropped interceptions. I don't think that's going to happen, and that's going to regress back to the mean. There's going to be more picks, more turnovers. He got his money. You think he takes a foot off the gas? It was a great story last year, comeback player of the year. It was an awesome season. I don't think it's sustainable. I'm going Seahawks under 8.5 as well. I don't see it this year. Tyler Lockett's 31 now. Jackson Smith-Njigba already has an injury to start the year. He'll miss the first few weeks.
He's healthy, though, this team is very different, because I am a huge Jackson Smith-Njigba fan.
Yeah, I think that's fair, but I don't think Geno's production is sustainable, and that's the number one red flag for me. That's why I'm going under here. They play a pretty tough schedule. I like the under. I like the under here.
All right, yeah. Give me Seahawks under. I told you I would make a pick. I said be patient.
There you
go. Wait. Delayed gratitude. All right, the last team we're going to talk about in our NFL previews. I can't believe we finished here.
I know.
We're going to finish. We're going to finish here with the San Francisco 49ers. I went to my first San Fran game, the preseason game against the Broncos. I got to see Trey Lance's last game in a 49ers uniform. Trey Lance is
legacy.
No longer on the 49ers. It is Brock Purdy's time. Sam Darnold is QB2. So if you know anything about Kyle Shanahan's time at the San Francisco 49ers, Sam Darnold will be the starting quarterback at one point this season. Their over-unders 10.5 wins. They're the favorite by far in this division, and rightfully so. I'm going to start here. I am all in on this Niners team. I'm all in. Every year, you always screw yourself every year and but if they had a quarterback, they're going to be fine. This is the year the quarterback stays healthy. This is the year they finally get it done. Give me the San Francisco 49ers over 10.5 wins. It's juiced like crazy everywhere you look. I don't care. Take the juice. They're going to win 12, 13 games. I'm not going to sit here and say, Dylan, 15-2, 16-1 for, the Ravens. But I am going to say, give me the Niners, 12, 13 wins. I wouldn't be surprised if they were at 14-15. If we watched that NFC Championship game last year, if Brock Purdy's healthy for that game, totally different story. Completely different story. They could have probably won that game. I thought they were going to win that game, and I think if you're Kansas City last season, if you're Kansas City, they were hoping for the Eagles to win that game. They did not want to face the 49ers. The 49ers are the toughest team in football to face. They are the most well-coached. If only they could have an average quarterback. Imagine Kirk Cousins on this Vikings, or not the Vikings, Kirk Cousins on this 49ers team. They would be 13-4, 15-2, whatever.
Yeah. I don't know if people are grasping how insane bad luck they had last year in the playoffs with all those quarterbacks getting hurt. That's unheard of. That never happens. There's a reason there's not more than 2 or 3 kept on the roster ever. If they had Sam Darnold last year, they win that playoff game. And that's saying something. If they had Sam Darnold, that's how good their weapons are. That's how good CMC and Debo and George Kittle and Brandon Ayuk is. That's how good they are. And this defense, oh my God, the best overall defense in 2022. They allowed 277 total points through 17 games and just over 5,000 yards for the entire season. By far and away the number 1 defense last year. They also have had the top 10 most injured teams since 2017. I think that's going to regress. It's always a Debo hamstring pull, or they got CMC now. Can he stay healthy? Or Ayuk's hurt now, or Kittle's missing 8 games with a broken hand. Eventually, the stars will align, and everybody will stay healthy. Not even to mention the quarterback situation last year. So if the majority of the team stays healthy this year, they get that bad luck out of the way. I believe you, Carter. I believe you about this 13-14 win Niners team. They're by far and away the best team in the division. I think it's minus 160. I think I saw 165. Take it. There's no way in hell they don't win this division. It's that juice for a reason. I will say one little qualm. The 49ers play 4 teams coming off byes this season. They have the worst negative rest edge in the NFL. But for a team that's this talented, I'm not really sure it matters too much. And the last thing, we're recording this the day after the Trey Lance trade that just happened last night. So if you're listening in a couple weeks and something's happened with Trey Lance, whatever, this just happened yesterday. So the 49ers must really believe in Brock Purdy in order to give him away for a 4th-round pick. Because didn't they traded all those picks for him in that famous trade to trade up for him, and those picks turned into like Bradley Chubb and Jalen Waddle or somebody. It was somebody insane that I saw a graphic about. So they must really believe in Brock Purdy in order to already give up on Trey Lance. They must have not seen a fit for him and been like, Brock's our guy. We want a veteran Sam Darnold number 2. So they know what they're doing. Carter. And I'm going to take them over 10.5 wins. I don't know if I'm going to lay the juice in the division, but I think it's a pretty safe bet.
Yeah, I love them. I love them. I think the Niners will do Super Bowl picks at the end. Niners will be a part of it. I'm all in on this Niners team. Brock Purdy, I don't think Brock Purdy's that insane, but he is so comfortable in that system now. Watching it in person, it's so seamless. He has so much time to throw. You can clearly see that Shanahan loves him. And now that the Trey Lance headache's out of the picture too, they just don't have to deal with that anymore. It's a match made in heaven. The Niners are good. Oh my gosh, I love this Niners team. I can't wait to bet them all year. But you may be able to get better odds after week 1 because they are only minus 2.5 against the Steelers in Pittsburgh.
That's a trap.
That is the biggest. That's the number 1 trap line of the NFL Week 1 slate. So you may be able to get better odds after Week 1 after they could, potentially have a stinker against the Pittsburgh Steelers. But I love the Niners. I'm taking them to win. I'm taking them to win the division, and I'm taking them over 10.5 wins. I might do an alternate win total as well. But let's. I think that's it, right?
That's all I got. I think the Niners are going to run away with this division. Like I said, low on the Seahawks. I'm excited. The Niners are just a fun team to watch. Whenever they're good with this many good skill guys, they're just fun to watch. They're always in that 425 slot. It's perfect for us East Coast guys.
I have 2. I went chalk on both of them. I went Eagles and Niners in both divisions, but I think chalk wins out in this one. I really do. All right, Super Bowl picks.
Oh, be ready to clip this, Carter. Do you want to go first?
Yeah. I'll let you go first. Give me your Super Bowl picks.
All right, so coming out of the AFC, there's a lot of talk about Mahomes. Is he going to win his 3rd? Josh Allen bounced back with the Bills. We're really high on the Ravens, and obviously all the Aaron Rodgers Jets hype. Nah, give me the Cincinnati Bengals from the AFC, and give me the Dallas Cowboys from the NFC to finally break through and make the Super Bowl. I got Bengals. I got Cowboys. I think the Bengals end up winning the Super Bowl if we're going to pick an actual winner. But I like Cincinnati and Dallas to make it all the way. I think Dak's going to have a huge bounce back year. I'm not usually high on the Cowboys. I'm always like, oh, it's the Cowboys. They'll never do this, blah, blah, blah. Give me the Cowboys to make the Super Bowl, Carter. Clip it, put it on social media. I'm gonna go down with the Cowboys ship this year. Couldn't even get the words out. I'm going to go down with the Cowboys ship this year. I'm taking them to make the Super Bowl. Probably not to win it. I like Joe Burrow. So many skill guys. We talked about them in our other preview. Give me Bengals over Cowboys.
Wow. So in honor of your last day at ESPN, you have to pick the Cowboys.
Exactly. In honor of my final day at the worldwide leader, give me the Cowboys. The worldwide leader of Cowboys coverage. Give me the Cowboys.
Their Cowboys propaganda, fed into you, I guess. Ah, wow.
I'm a changed man.
No, I am so far away from that. The AFC is where I have my trouble. I have my NFC pick, and it's the San Francisco 49ers. I love the 49ers every which way this year. It is finally time. Their bad luck has finally come back. And ironically, it's going to be Brock Purdy instead of Jimmy Garoppolo, not Trey Lance, not any of these other guys. It's going to end up being Brock Purdy that takes him to the Super Bowl. And then in the AFC, it's hard for me not to go with the Chiefs. Okay. It's boring. It's lame. This isn't clip worthy, whatever. But I'm going 49ers Chiefs in the Super Bowl. And give me the 49ers to win the Super Bowl. I've already bet them 10-1 to win the Super Bowl. I love the San Francisco 49ers this year. I think they're going to waltz through the NFL regular season. I think, you know what I'll say? I think they go 14-3, 15-2, and I think they dominate the NFC playoffs. I think they sleepwalk to the Super Bowl, and I think they beat the Chiefs in the Super Bowl.
Wow. You heard it here first. Big 49ers guy. You know what?
Brock Purdy is about to win Super Bowl MVP. Just put that into perspective.
That won't happen. If they make the Super Bowl, it will not be because of Brock Purdy solely.
Purdy, no. Super Bowl MVP, not league MVP. Brock Purdy will be the Super Bowl MVP this year.
Yes, I don't see it. If they win the Super Bowl, it's going to be because McCaffrey has 200 all-purpose yards, or Kittle has 2 or 3 touchdowns, or Deebo Samuel has 250 yards, or something like that. Don't know if Brock Purdy's going to get it, but I could be wrong.
Brock Purdy can sling it. Brock Purdy can run, and Brock Purdy can sling it. I'm all in on the Niners. So shout out Brian. I'm picking the Niners to win the Super Bowl. That's my pick this year. Do you remember who we had last year?
No, I don't, to be completely honest.
I think I had the Chiefs.
I think you did. I think you had the Chiefs last year.
Yes, I did have the Chiefs because Dylan hated me for having the Chiefs. And like, what are you going to do? Square with the Chiefs?
The thing about the Niners, Carter, I'm not going to be shocked if that happens. I think they're far and away the most talented skill position team in the league.
They're just a well-oiled machine, man. They're so good. They're so good. Yes, they'll have a couple letdowns, whatever. Don't let the ship fade. Don't get scared. Don't get scared after week 1. I promise. Just stay with me after week 1. After they lose to Kenny Pickett and the Steelers, you're gonna be like, oh my gosh, is Shanahan on the hot seat? He trades his number 3 overall pick, and then this. Just stay on the ship with us. Just ride it out. It's okay.
That's right.
You're gonna be all right. The Niners are going to win the Super Bowl this year. I know this is not a reverse jinx or nothing, no funny business. The 49ers are going to win the Super Bowl. It's finally happening.
You heard it here first on the Karter Cast.
All right, that's it. That's all our NFL previews. That's our NFC East and NFC West previews. That's it. That's our Super Bowl picks. Make sure to subscribe to the podcast. Thank you so much for listening. Follow us on all social media at CarterCast, at Connor_Sparrow, at CarterB8 on everything. Follow us on there. Follow us on TikTok, please. And we'll be back. NFL season's upon us. We'll be back for a week 1 preview. Oh, wait, you've already listened to the college football week 1 preview. So if you're listening, football's really back. We have,
right.
You've already seen that South Carolina beat North Carolina in Charlotte. You've already seen that.
Wow. You've already seen that Drake May threw for 500 yards in the first game. You already watched that.
There it is. But no, so if you're listening right now, we'll be back. I have our week 1 preview out Thursday. That'll be out Thursday morning right before the Chiefs-Lions game. So we'll be able to go through to preview the biggest games of the week, give our podcast parlays and everything. So super excited. Follow us on everything. Thank you so much for listening, and we'll see y'all next time. Bye-bye.